and I'm from Bridgewater, Nova Scotia, and I'm a student at St. FX University. I'm going into my 4th year. My degree is an honors degree in sociology, and I have been awarded like an internship where I can conduct a social enterprise or like an initiative. And my initiative is I'm trying to cultivate intergenerational connections in the community I'm in, which is in Antigonish, Nova Scotia. So I'm working to start a program where students and seniors can live together. So it's underpinned by the motivation to address the innate human yearning for sincere intergenerational connections. So what the program will be like is there will be a home share, which will be the senior, and they'll sign up to have their home open to a student, and a student can sign up and live with the senior. So the point of the project is that the housing is affordable for the student, and the two participants can share rent, so it's cheaper, because housing is not very affordable in Antigonish, where I reside right now. And the other facet of the project is that seniors can age at home. So what students can provide for seniors is that they can, do property management, like change light bulbs, shovel the driveway, like rake the leaves. And seniors can provide, their wisdom, their companionship. They can provide dinners. So it's a reciprocal arrangement that benefits both the student and the senior. And what's also so valuable about it is that there isn't a lot of interaction between seniors and students these days, especially in this community where there's such a robust student population. So it would be really valuable to foster those connections between seniors and students. So yeah, that's my project. I would say the inspiration would be there's a lack of diversity of housing in Antigonish. It's either you live in a residence or you live off campus with a group of friends. But the problem with that is that there's such a pervasive party culture at the school I go to. It's like totally the normal party school in Canada. So that's problematic for a lot of students, where they could feel ostracized if they don't participate in the party culture, which is very pervasive in the residences. So mostly my motivation was underpinned by diversifying housing models in Antigonish. And another problem is the housing here is unaffordable. Like rent is extremely expensive for what the housing is for students, and students are often pushed to like housing ghettos, which are just like terrible housing for really expensive prices, because that's what we're offered. So it is mostly underpinned by those problems that are in Antigonish. And also, seniors don't want to be institutionalized in retirement homes, and it's so easy to be put there. Like it comes down to just if they can't change a light bulb and no one's there to help them, then the next option is to go to a long-term care facility. So if there's a student there who can help with property management, that would be huge for them. And also, social isolation is a really big topic as well, where seniors are very socially isolated, where all their family is usually pretty far away. And also for students, where it's a really new time in their life, they can also suffer from social isolation quite profoundly. So I think that would really help in combating that. Actually, it is really important that it is a good match between the student and the senior, because of course seniors coming from especially like a rural community, it can be hard to be open-minded and to take in any kind of student. So there would have to be a screening process where we make sure that it's a safe space for the student and for the senior both, and that they're both accepting and that they will be compatible. But there are interesting models where there's a model in Ottawa actually where LGBTQ seniors can apply to host an LGBTQ student, because the student can be pushed away from their family because they weren't accepted, and the senior can be lonely because they're also ostracized. So that's a really beautiful program in Ottawa that they do. So it would be nice to follow a model like that, but since I'm in Antigonish, where it's so much smaller and there's not much there's a less dense population, it would be very important to make sure that all participants are welcoming and that there's like equity and diversity policies. Right now, I'm doing a research protocol, so there's no implementation yet because that takes a couple of years. That's what most people have told me. So right now I'm developing a research protocol where I'm trying to figure out a framework that would work in the localized context of Antigonish, because there are a lot of housing models like this, especially in Europe. It's a very popular housing model. So upon contacting other models, I've discovered that you need like a social worker, you need a home share coordinator. So it's a pretty tedious and burdensome journey. But so for now, it's mostly just a lot of research and a lot of networking with the community, especially. I've had meetings with the town, and they have showed their interest as well, which is really good, and they're a really great resource to have in developing a project like this. But it does take a long time, so it's important to not be discouraged by how slow the process is, and that, you know, doing the research and developing a protocol and like a policy framework is just the start of it. So my project is supported by an internship I've been awarded. It's called the Walls Family Internship, and they allow you the self-agency to direct your own enterprise, and mine is this home share program. So it only lasts, it's a 12-week internship, but this will also be my honors thesis work. So the research I get from this summer with the help of the Walls Family Internship in the town will help with my honors thesis research. So I'll be continuing to do this all year, and hopefully I'll get like a pilot started, or, you know, like some sound frameworks out of it so that this can be started soon. Funding is a really important topic for this because I've spoke to a few people, a few stakeholders and people who have developed these programs, and they said that it does cost a lot of money because you do need a home share coordinator to make the matches, and they need a good pay. So usually people who are successful with these programs, they have government funding of over $100,000. So it can be hard to get funding because it's a lot to ask, and since I live in a smaller town, it will be hard to get that funding from the government. But it is important that there is funding, and a lot of models actually, they're for-profit, some of the models that do this. So the senior would have to pay the agent, like the home share agency, and that helps the agency self-sustain. So what I wanted to do was to make it not-for-profits, because that would, since the guiding principles of this project is to make it affordable housing, it wouldn't really make sense to ask seniors to pay for the home share program. So that is a burden I have to overcome, is how do I make this not-for-profit and not ask people to pay too much money into it, but how can it self-sustain and how can it run? So funding is really important. Now going to my last year of my undergrad, but my next step is hopefully to do a master's. And if this does work out, and I think it will because the community is really supportive of it, then I would like to continue my master's and keep on working on projects like this that can be, you know, like spread out into other rural communities, especially because it's mostly cities that have these intergenerational home share programs. But it is really important that rural communities have it as well, because it is the seniors of rural communities that preserve the really rich rural culture that towns have. And oftentimes it is the seniors that do most of the leadership activities and they do most of the volunteering. So it is really imperative that these are fostered into rural communities as well. So that is my goal, is to go into my master's program and continue work like this in geriatrics. Yeah, it is. It's a really important project. And it is important that like a matchmaking tool can be developed so that people don't have to do this by themselves and seniors don't have to seek out students by themselves. It is really important that there is like a social worker who is behind the scenes and conducting the matchmaking process so that you can ensure that everybody is safe, and that the companionship can be cultivated, it can be strong, and it can be preserved, because you don't want the seniors, the students, or the young people to have a bad experience with it, because this is a really valuable housing model to combat social isolation for both generations. So I guess my vision, like my big grand vision, would to be able to implement this in Antigonish and have a successful home share program that could be replicated and that would be transferable to other rural communities, specifically rural communities. So I guess like my dream, my vision would be to have this implemented in as many rural communities that it can be put into, and especially not just for students and seniors, but for young people and seniors, because like rural communities do have a lot of seniors, and there's not a lot of youth retention in rural communities, especially. So if there were programs where young people could have affordable housing and they wouldn't be isolated, I think that would also serve to retain youth in rural communities as well. So it's more than just combating affordable housing, combating social isolation, and supporting seniors to age in their home. It's also about retaining youth and allowing them to have safe spaces in their rural communities. A big part of this project is also for reducing ageism. There's this really beautiful Terry Pratchett quote that I read the other day, and it reminds me of this, and it's that inside every old person is a younger person wondering what happened. So I think it's really important to know that seniors have so much wisdom that they can share with young people, and that it's really important to have those friendships between young people and seniors, and that even seniors with severe dementia and Alzheimer's, they still have really important and valuable things to say, and that no one deserves to feel alone in the world, mostly.